Hi, welcome to the Berry Nation podcast, where we support the bariatric community with humor, humility, and honesty. I'm April.
I'm Jason.
I'm Natalie.
And we are doing one of our summer study check-ins. And we were talking before we recorded. This summer is not going the way that any of us thought that it would.
Sure.
We've got the summer part. It's the steady part that's been that's been the issue.
Been steadily rough is what.
Awful summary. That's about the best we can get out of it.
Oh my God, those are two excellent ones. Awful summary. It sure has been.
Yep.
Hot damn. So, and now I will let you call me out at the very beginning here. So the last time we recorded, I wrote down what Jason's goals were and what your goals were.
Mm-hmm.
I did not write down what mine were.
Oh, I'm sorry. You did not write down your own goals.
For those of you that are not familiar, April is very big on making other people discuss things about themselves and then just, she's like the gif of Homer where Homer just backs into the bushes. That's where she does when it comes time for her to talk about her or do any of her stuff. She likes to just kind of her way back out of the frame there so that everybody else gets called out. She's just like, and next we're going to talk about...
Yeah, and if you listen to the episode with Dr. Weiner, I definitely called her out then. So we're working on her to be a little bit more accountable as she holds us accountable.
I am accountable. We get deep in conversation and then we move on. So that's not my fault.
Move on.
Yeah, I was like, you move on because you're the seguer. So you're like, and up next we're going to talk about.
It's a skill I've been crafting for a very long time, right? It's like, what's that movie with Liam Neeson? I will find you. I will hunt you down. It's like,
okay, good.
Yeah, you will not find me. You will not hunt me down. I am the ghost.
You have a particular set of skills that make people like you a nightmare for people like us.
I have a particular set of skills. It's not that I don't want to share. It's just, we just get caught up in the moment. So, but that will be it'll be part of the discussion. Don't worry.
I got you. Don't worry. Yeah. We will see how April is doing.
So for those of you that have been keeping up with the episodes, she's going to have like 5 different sets of goals, and we're not going to know if she's accomplished any of them because she just changes them every time she puts new goals up.
Look at that. That's how I'm always on top of my ish. I just forget. I forget what I wanted to do, and then I just refocus on something else.
She's like, oh yeah, I totally did that. Check mark. Check. Totally did that one.
Boop, boop. Oh yeah. The last time I saw my tracker was God knows how long, a month probably at this point. I was doing so good too. And then
you were.
Only if you rewatched one of the videos you did where you had the tracker, that's the last time you saw it.
Yes, that's probably true. Yes, it got stuck in a planner somewhere, and then my life blew up, and I have no idea. I don't even know where I'm at. Half the time I wake up and I'm like, what house am I waking up in? Where am I?
I truly feel like I'm in a simulation this summer. Like, I feel like I'm in the Upside Down for those Stranger Things fans. I'm just here,
It's definitely a going through the motions type of summer.
Yeah.
It definitely feels like that. Okay, well, let's just do this. Let's dive in and let's explore. Let's talk about how it's been going so far.
Cool, let's do it.
All right, Miss Nat. So explain to us, why does it feel like you are in a simulation?
I mean, I just feel like every time I am like on a roll, however that may be, even like prior to the bariatric retreat and stuff, it's like I was on a roll, I was feeling good, went to the retreat, came home, got COVID. And like similar things are happening where it's like, okay, I just went on my 4th of July vacation, had a great time with my friends, dealing with a loss, a very sudden loss of a friend. And it's just like, man, like every time I feel like I'm feeling good, I'm doing all the things, it's like life just kind of like punches me down and is like, nope, you thought you were like on the right track, or you thought that you were like safe from life. And so that's just kind of how I feel right now, is like, just tired of like having to take care of those extra things and then like also be steady and like take care of myself. I'm a single person and I have to go to work, but then I also have to take care of my dog. I have to clean my house. I have to make my meals. I have to fill in the blanks. And so those like added events that are kind of knocking me down, it's like, it's feeling really hard to like get back up from them. Cause I'm just like, oh, I'm just tired. So that's kind of
I've heard that from a lot of members of our community this summer. People are really tired, and it is feeling like, oh, I think this, and then boom, oh, and then I'm pivoting, nope, boom, one thing after the other.
And it's not just personal life too. I mean, it's like Roe v. Wade. It's like all these things where I'm like, is this real life? Like, am I actually living in this world right now? Like, and then, you know, I could go all existential, like, why do I even care about cleaning my house? Why do I even care about like XYZ if this is the world that I live in?
Mm-hmm.
And so I've just been battling a lot, like mentally as well, just because I'm like, it's exhausting to continue on when your world just kind of looks the way it does.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right, because it's not just, it's the, the Roe v. Wade thing. It's the gas prices, it's the food prices, it's the everything steadily going up to where, I had an old woman pass me in the store yesterday and said she couldn't buy eggs because she couldn't afford them with all the other things she had, because she's like, have you seen the price of eggs? And I'm like, to be honest with you, I hadn't even paid it. If I need them, I just grab them and go. Like, it hadn't been a thing to me. She's like, I can't even afford to buy them. And I felt horrible. But I'm like, if you look at the price of literally everything, everything skyrocketing. Then you got the supply and demand. You got shortages everywhere. It's baby formula, it's chicken, it's this, it's that, it's whatever. It really does make it, the bariatric routine that we go through, the life that we're having to live and adjust to, is more than just the bariatric stuff that goes on inside your house, at your, when you're ordering food, when you're cooking for yourself. It can make it harder on you to just process daily life, because you are dealing with trying to figure out a new way and a new path to your own life, with inside your body. But with everything else going on outside of that, adding stressors to it, it just makes it that much harder to deal with. Like, how can you even focus and function on what you have to do to make yourself a better, in bariatric land, and make sure that you're doing all the things you need to do when you're focusing on the dumpster fire that's happening around us? And that doesn't make it shit what state you live in. Doesn't matter where you are. There's legitimately dumpster fires all over the country right now. So it does make it, I mean, when you're in tune to that, like a lot of us are empathic people, that, I mean, you feel all of that. Your friends, your family, your neighbors, your loved ones, no matter where they are suffering. So it's very hard for you to say, oh, I got to make sure I get my protein in today, when you know that there's people out there that can't buy protein for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think my anxiety has just been really high. I have two landlords, and then one of them passed away months ago. And I was taking Hooper for a walk, and there was an ambulance outside my house, and I was like, oh fuck, like, oh fuck, like that, there goes my other landlord. Like, I just instantly went into that way of thinking, called her, she was fine, thank God. But it's just like, I feel like I'm just so heightened that I'm like, what else is going to happen? And if I see any sign of anything, I just think of the worst case scenarios lately. And I am medicated for anxiety, but it's just the world that we live in. It's like, oh, that's the one other thing that's going to happen to me today. And so, yeah, I think it's just been hard for me to, like, when those things happen, like, rebound from it, like bounce back and like, yeah, continue on with my bariatric meal prepping and like all this stuff. It's like,
yeah. You know, and the thing that I have been, I guess, I don't know, learning or thinking or focusing on is that I too was finding myself getting drawn down by all of these other things that were going on. And it was just becoming all consuming. And I was just getting to this place where it's like, oh my God, I can't do anything. Everything is bad. Everywhere I look, it's bad. Everything is on fire. Everything, right? Like you were saying, Nat, like 4 things happened in Seattle yesterday, right? Ferry hit a dock, plane crashed, Jamal Adams' finger broke, Seahawks.
A truck full of chemicals just blew up on the southbound I-5, like.
And it's 100.
Yeah, it's like 100 degrees out, like, so fumes and like all, and you're just like, I feel like I'm in a simulation. Like, is this like, I don't have, thankfully I live in a state where I do have fundamental rights, but it's like fundamental rights are being taken away, things are blowing up, things are crashing. I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's too much. It's really too much.
Yes. Well, and the question is, I guess, that we're probably really all 3 of us are trying to figure out is, if we can't control any of those things, how do we not allow them to impact us? How do we, it's not that we need to become less empathetic. It's just how do we acknowledge what's going on and let it just wash over us so that it doesn't drag us down? Because like, we can't control 99% of the things that are going on around us. We can't control food prices. We can't control gas prices. I can't control the weather. I can't control the ferry. I can't control someone's life and when it's going to end. I mean, I'm going through the same thing right now with somebody I've known literally my entire life is on hospice and passing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to signify a huge, like, just change, right? Before and after.
Mm-hmm.
And it is just weighing on my soul.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I can't control that.
And the thing about it really that I have kind of clued in on is it's controlled chaos at this point. You have to grasp and grab a hold of the things that you can control, and you have to be aware of the things you can't, but you can't, like you said, you can't let it weigh you down, because if you don't have a voice in changing what's going on, then control what you can control, grab a hold of the reins of your wagon and make sure that it doesn't go crazy in the stampede of things. Because I mean, you've got 2 choices. You can either let it, roll right over you and crush everything you've worked for, or you can maneuver your wagon out of the way, let the whole stampede go by while watching it closely to make sure that things don't get way out of hand. But you can't let it encompass your everyday being. Like, I can't say, well, I can't get my protein in because that poor woman at the store couldn't afford to buy eggs. Like, it doesn't work that way, because I'm harming myself and I'm not helping her. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing as putting your oxygen mask on before you help anybody else, because you're no good to anybody else if you're passed out on the floor. So that's kind of the way I've been looking at it, because I'm to the point now where I don't even watch news. So a lot of times when people ask me about stuff, I'm like, I don't know, let me research it and see, because I have no idea when it happens, because I had to unplug completely because I was letting all that stuff bother me.
Yeah. I think what I very similar to you, Jason. It's like, I mean, my mom reads and watches the news too much, and I don't want to be that way. That will make you crazy, right? Like, we all know that will make you crazy. Mm-hmm. So I do the same thing. I just heard about, I saw a meme about yesterday, like the things that happened in Seattle. In Seattle. Like, wait, what? And so I researched it, and then I saw all of the articles, right? So yeah, I think I limit, like right now I'm kind of in like a bubble of my own sanity, maybe lack thereof, but just like a very protective layer of like, I'm not going to let these things penetrate that. Like, I can't let those things penetrate what I have created for myself, which goes into my goals. I know that I wanted to stay steady with meal planning and tracking my macros. I'm still doing it. Like, which is incredible.
That's
Like,
amazing.
I don't know how I'm doing it, but I think what I had set up for myself those, 2 months before summer, really, now it's kind of like, okay, this is just what I do. So now it's pretty robotic and I don't have to think about it as much, which is like really awesome. This week, not so much, but I'm just like, this week I texted you, April. I was like, this is what I've been doing and it's been crazy. But I think, yeah, like controlling what you can control. I can get water in. Like I have the capability of drinking water. I can do that. I have the capability of going to Costco and getting meat and putting it in the freezer so that I don't spend money on meat every single week that's overpriced, right? Like I can do those things that may take a little bit more brain power right now, but like those are things that I can control.
Mm-hmm.
So I am leaning into that, I think, as much as I can.
Yep. I'm reading 2 books right now. Stillness is the Key and The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. And that book is like, I had no idea, but it either really talks about like, if your emotional reaction isn't benefiting whatever is going on, if your emotion is not helping the situation in any way, then it's wasted energy. Right. And we really need to limit our input so that we can focus on what we can control. Right. So when it comes to like national politics, we can vote, we can send money, or we can volunteer our time. If you're not going to do any one of those 3 things, then your emotional reaction to those things is meaningless and pointless because your emotion isn't helping it. It's your action that is.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have the capacity to put action towards those emotions, then you're actually giving away part of your life energy that you can't afford to give away because life is always chaos. People are always going to pass,
mm-hmm.
right? Like politicians are always going to do things that we don't like. The weather is always going to do something that we don't like, right? The ferry's going to run into terminals. Like that's just what they do. They're not supposed to, but they do more often than you would imagine.
Yeah.
Right. So limiting our inputs and really just focusing on, okay, what can I control? And that is hard to do because I know for me in my old life, if I could get caught up in somebody else's drama, I'm going to do that because that means I don't have to deal with my own.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely makes you feel better about yourself when you're listening to somebody else go on about their problems because you don't have to focus on yours.
Well, we all spent years going, well, I'm not that bad.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like, everyone's got their bad. Everyone's got their shit that they're lugging around.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just different. It doesn't make anyone's worse or better or lighter or heavier. It's just, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of what I'm learning this year, I think, especially like my second year post-op. It's like everyone has their own thing or things that they have to deal with at any given moment.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yep. Well, and life is not going to continue. Life is never going to go in the direction that we anticipated, right? But what we can do is say, I'm going to do, like Jason, like what you were just saying, I'm doing X, Y, and Z no matter what. Right. And when things come in, when all this stuff starts doing this, I have a choice. I have a choice. Do I allow that to penetrate my bubble or do I not? Is that an input that I need or is it not? And, maybe that is a healthier way to go through this. Maybe it is different from what we've done in the past. And maybe the whole reason that we're having this conversation is because we're realizing, I used to take in all of these things, and now I'm finding I'm doing it again, but that's actually not helping me. That's not a good thing for me. We're realizing that. Yeah,
the bubble's definitely the place to be.
Yeah. And I was talking to a friend recently about that, and we both push each other's boundaries a lot in the most like loving way. And she pushed back when I said, yeah, I'm kind of living in my own bubble right now because I need to protect myself. And she brought up the analogy of like putting your head in the sand. And I said, actually, no, because I'm also dealing with my own stuff, but I'm just protecting. I'm putting the blinders on. I'm not shoving my head in the sand. That's what I was doing before, was shoving my head in the sand and saying, but what's your problem? What's your problem? What, like, I don't have one, burying it deep in the sand. I said, no, that's not what I'm doing. Actually, I'm just protecting myself, and I have a goal set that I want to achieve, and I have to kind of get rid of all this excess in order to achieve it.
Yeah. Yes. And you can be aware of what's going on and not be oblivious to it, but still handle your own stuff. You don't have to get directly involved, and you don't have to, light your torches and grab your pitchforks and go, mobbing down the street just to make people realize that you're aware. Your awareness has many different levels and can look very different, and will look different between all people. Like, you could be fully apprised of any situation, but just not talk about it.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid if you did all your research and didn't tell anybody about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is a really good point, right? We can be aware of everything that's going on, but we can also understand that I don't have the capacity to do anything about that. So I'm just going to take that in as information, and I'm going to move on.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. You can agree that it's wrong. You can be an ally to those and listen to those and be a shoulder if that's needed, but you do not have to go out there and champion every cause, because there's so many causes out there to champion. At the end of the day, like, nobody has the capacity to champion all the causes that are out there.
Yeah.
You just don't. It's just not possible.
No. Well, and especially when we're struggling in our own lives, right? In our own bariatric journeys. It's kind of like, if my house is in order, how can I help somebody else get theirs in order? Like, I'm not even like, this isn't even good.
Yeah.
So if I just continue to like work on other people's houses, I'm never going to get mine built.
Yep.
Yeah. 100%.
So your goal, not this summer, was meal prep tracking, and you've been faithful to all of that despite what's been going on.
For the most part, this week was not aligned. I tried, but I think I just kind of let my distractions get to me, which I don't regret at all. Like, I had a great week. It was really busy. Had a lot of coworkers coming in from out of town. We all work remote, so it was just kind of like a fun time for everyone to get together. We went to a Mariners game. We went on these like electric boats out on Lake Union. Like, we did all of these really fun, amazing things. But I even I brought snacks, never ate them. They all sat in my backpack, like, I ate other stuff. Like, I was not aligned. I did not track. But the thing that I thought was interesting is that yesterday when I got home from work, I felt it all. Like, I felt the exhaustion. I felt bloated. I felt all of the things. And that to me is an indicator that I am now more aware of my body than I ever was before. The fact that I could sit at the end of the week and go, I don't feel very good. Like, my stomach was kind of yucky. Like, I just felt, I looked in the mirror. I was like, your face is kind of puffy. Like, I was like, oh, okay. I can see the changes and I can feel the changes, and I didn't really like how I felt at the end of this week. So even though I wasn't steady this week, I think I'm taking it as that learning opportunity that we all talk about, and just saying, okay, like, that's not how I want to be. How can I set this up, like, this next week and this next, August starts on Monday. What a better way to start the month than to just like have a plan. Not that I'm like starting on Monday, but I am kind of like using that in my brain to kind of be like, okay,
back to what I was doing.
Let's regroup. Let's start again, because I started July off really well, and this last week did not go well. So,
but that's the beautiful thing about that, is that you might not have known that you felt so bad from all the stuff that you were eating and be able to pinpoint it the way you did had you not have been so consistent those first 3 weeks.
yeah.
And I honestly, that's just part of the beauty of the data that you get from the consistency that you've been doing. And, that just still aligns with progress over perfection. And I think you nailed it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, right? Like the whole point of summer study is majority, not all.
Right. Yeah.
So you have been doing, you have reached your goal. You have consistently been tracking and meal prepping for a majority of the summer, which is huge.
Yeah. No, I go to therapy all the time. So my therapist was like, how do you feel about how this week is going? And I'm like, not well about it. Like, I don't feel great about how it's been going, but I'm like, but it's okay. I'll just, we'll just get back on track. And she was like, you would have never said that 6 months ago. And I was like, cool. Okay. So like, I can see, I'm starting to kind of see those changes mentally just as much as physically, which is the point of why we're doing summer study, right?
Yep. Well, I was reflecting on this the other day. It's like, even when we're in the car going to a destination, how many times have you hit every light and had it be green? Right? Like almost like when it happens, you're like, oh my God, like people document it on like social media, right? Like it's like, so having these stops along the way where we pause and wait for something to pass by is a completely normal part of life. And but our brain is telling us, nope, you got to go straight through. There is no stopping. That never happens.
No.
I mean, like think about any journey ever made. Like even when, when people were walking across the desert, you stopped at an oasis. Like there were these stopping points that you had to refuel. There was these places that you had to just take a moment of pause, because you can't just barrel through.
No, you can't.
It doesn't exist. So it sounds like this week was kind of one of those red light moments.
Oh yeah. I was like, bariatric who?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm not a bariatric patient. And then I like got home yesterday and I was like, you're still a bariatric patient. Your stomach is hurting. Like it was like my body was like pew pew pew. Like all these signals were going off. Like when your car needs oil and stuff. It was just like red flag. And I was like,
service needed.
Yeah, it's like we heard you saying bariatric who? It's bariatric you, mother.
Yeah. So I took my Just Better fiber last night and I just went to bed. I was like, we're gonna reset.
I mean, those are the two best things that you could do. Just Better fiber and just go to bed.
Honestly. Yeah. But yeah, so I definitely, this week was great. It was busy. I'm exhausted from it. But it was also needed. Like I needed to know what I was doing was working and what I did this week does not work. Like I just need to know that. So
you got the proof now. You got the evidence. Yeah. Powerful. Jason, my friend, what about you? What's been going on?
Ooh. So meal prepping has still been a thing, been doing that, been staying true to all that stuff. Tracking, on the other hand, not so much. But I have not really been going out of the stuff that I normally eat. I just haven't been keeping track of it in the app itself. But I'm just, like I've said on here a million times, I'm kind of a creature of habit. I just rotate the same shit in and out. I have incorporated more vegetables in with my stuff instead of just eating a big chunk of protein and calling it good. I have been incorporating a swap between green beans and broccoli. And I've been doing wild rice and quinoa with it.
Quinoa.
So it's a full balance plate. I've been rocking the bird seed, loving it, loving life.
Quinoa is so good.
It's
I mean, just hopped up bird seed with some rice. I'm all in. But yeah, so I've been doing that. So it's a more balanced plate so that I'm more full off of things other than just the protein. So it's been working well. I feel better. I feel full, fuller longer. So that helps. I'm able to process broccoli better now than I was before. I can eat more than just 1 or 2 pieces now. So, but it definitely does cut down on the amount of meat that I eat. Like I will eat much less. I went from about 8 ounces down to about 3 to 4 ounces to be able to eat the broccoli that I'm eating. So.
Wow. That's awesome.
Wow.
Right? Like much more. Yeah. Totally.
So yeah, those are things. And I like breakfast hasn't changed. I kept that the same just because I can do I do that shit with my eyes closed. That's just how it is. So, but yeah, that's pretty much how I've been doing as far as like I've just meal prep chicken thighs a bunch of different ways. Then I've got, I've been trading off between steak. I'll do like chicken and steak, or I'll do chicken and tuna, or things like that. I just keep switching it up back and forth, so I don't get the flavor fatigue.
That's impressive. So have you noticed a difference in like how you feel, or are you seeing it impacted on the scale? Is this going to be something that you want to stick with, and why? I'm going
to stick with it. I have seen a difference in how I feel and in the scale. It hasn't been tremendous. I've dropped 3-4 pounds, and I'm still kind of volleying back and forth between those few pounds, but it, just depends on the day. Like my water, I need to up my water intake a little bit more than I have been, because I think I've been having some swelling in my ankles and stuff going on. So, knowing I'm a little lower than I should be with that. But the craziest thing is when our air was down for those 4 days it was down, like I was drinking, but I wasn't drinking enough to keep up with how much I was sweating. So I'm trying to get back into the kind of the swing of that. So all in due time. I'm probably due for one of those nights where I hit the bathroom like 8 or 9 times, and then I, get back down to like 323. Where I want to close to where I want to be. So but no, it's overall, it's been good. It's been a good way for me to know that I can still meal prep, but I can also adjust on the fly and incorporate some of those things that, we've heard from all the dietitians that we love and trust. So doing that and kind of rounding that out keeps me from eating, 4 and 5 times after, by the time I get done with work, because I'll eat a chunk of protein, but I'm still like hungry, about an hour later. So I go more and more and more. But the only thing that's really doing is, it adds a little bit of protein to it, but it also adds a lot of fat to it at the same time. So that's where I keep going over on like my fat, my sodium and things like that, because it's just about the meat and not about the other things fiber that will actually keep me full. So
that's something that I've learned as well, with tracking and all this. It's like, oh, I'm actually fuller if I eat a lot of vegetables throughout the day. Whereas, same thing. Before it was like, oh, I could have carbs and stuff. It's like, cool. But like, though, like rice or even quinoa, like it's great for you. But I feel like when I actually have like vegetables, cucumbers, peppers, carrots, broccoli, that's really what keeps you full.
It is. Well, it's a combination of all. It's a balance, right? Which, yes. And I think we get so stuck in our head about protein. It is extremely important. And it's not at our stage when we're 2-3 years post-op, it's not difficult to hit those protein goals, eating whole protein, because we can just, we have the capacity to do so. But it's when we add in those other elements that it gets interesting, it gets delicious, and we're fuller longer. I noticed that. Yes.
I was just going to say, I'm proud of you. Your body is changing. It's starting to notice things are different, even though you're bouncing between those pounds.
Yes. Right? Thank you. It definitely is making all the difference.
Well, and what's really been sticking in my head, and you're just doing it, I think, because your body is calling for it, Jason. But, when we talked with Dr. Weiner, he was talking about what are the 4 things that we can do to maintain that lower metabolic set point. And besides bariatric surgery and weight loss medication, it's nutrient dense diet, whole food diet, right? And it's muscle building. Those are the two things that have been shown to help us maintain that lower metabolic set point. So surgery does it instantly for us, but naturally it's going to want to come back up. And then when we start incorporating more foods and when we start eating maybe the foods that we used to eat before that contributed, to our higher weight, no wonder we see the scale creep back up. So, when he said those 4 things, it was like, oh, okay, it's not that deep. This is not that complicated. It's whole nutrient dense food and it's resistance movement. It's not like heavy, like go to the gym, muscle build, it can be that, but it's as simple as anything that allows us to maintain, our lean muscle mass that does it.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay.
Moving more than you would on a normal day. Whatever that looks like to you is resistance enough.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So I have been, I'm back at the lake. I've been back and forth and to the border and back. I mean, I've been all over the flipping place in the last 2 weeks. It feels like, and the food that I brought with me from home to the lake, I brought cucumbers and, my sprouts and all that kind of stuff. Well, my lunch and my dinner for the last 2 days has been some mozzarella cheese, like whole mozzarella, cucumbers and sprouts. That's it. That's been my meal.
Yeah.
And it's flipping delicious. And I am like, again, one of my obstacles right now is eating past fullness. But I noticed these past 2 days, I started off with a serving, right? Whatever my serving was. And I was like, oh my God, I ate it all, but I was so full. And I was like, nope. So the next time, 1 less piece of cheese, 1 less cucumber, right? So all of a sudden it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and I'm more satisfied and I'm not eating past fullness. And again, it's like, hey, guess what? Whole food works. Imagine that. Weird.
Yeah.
It's all about that course correcting.
Oh my
God. And it can be done on the fly.
Yes.
My problem has been snacking. Like I just snack when I work because I'm sedentary at work. And so I don't even keep certain snacks in my house because I will eat them and it's just the fact of life. But I've been doing those like, okay, I'm just going to cut up a bunch of veggies, put them all in sandwich bags and have them at the ready. So I'm literally eating throughout the day, not in like one sitting, but like throughout the day, I'm eating like half a cucumber, half a bell pepper, 2 like carrots, like. And I'm like, oh, this is what I was needing the whole time, but I was filling it with other things that are not protein dense. Exactly what you're saying, April. It's like, oh, cucumbers and bell peppers and carrots. And I like all those things. I just don't think about them.
Nope. Well, when Dr. Weiner was talking about, how the kind of I don't want to use the diet, but like the eating way that he encourages his patients, right? It's a pound of vegetables and kind of lower carb fruits, a whole pound a day. And, initially I was like, well, that's not a lot of food. No. When I actually weighed it out, it's a lot.
So it's a lot of food. Cause that's when I started doing all the pre-packaged like veggie stuff. And I was like,
yeah,
like 1 sandwich baggie of like cucumber, carrot, bell pepper is like a quarter of a pound. Like it's nothing. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But they're also nutrient dense and they're also good for you, that it's like,
yeah,
why shouldn't I be eating those? I like all of those things.
Yeah. Yep. It's a trip, right? It's a trip. And again, like I'm such an all or nothing, and I'm do all the things all at once because that's the quickest way to get there. But it's not. All it's done is create these log jams, and I just keep I just keep jamming myself up. And I think I even talked about this the last time. And for me, these past couple weeks, it has just been, I've just stepped away from kind of everything, and I'm doing what is easiest to do. And we talked about it with Laura too, right? It's much easier to add something in than it is to take something away. And I'm struggling with eating past fullness. I'm calling it late night eating. It's not a snack. It's a freaking meal. I'm having an entire meal right before I go to bed. So let's not call it a snack. It is full on eating. And it's just like this panic. It's this panic sensation that I have so much to do. There's so much going on. I'm just so overwhelmed. My only response has been to eat. And that is not helping in any sense of the word. So I've really just been dialing it back. I've been lowering the pressure that I'm putting on myself and sticking with the things that are easy to do. And oddly enough, it has been reading and journaling, and then making these little tweaks to the food that I eat. I mean, I haven't been so consistent with journaling in a very long time, but no matter what time I get up in the morning, I read this little passage, I journal, I spend at least 10 to 20 minutes just reading, and then I go on with my day. And if it doesn't happen in the morning, I don't beat myself up. If I can do it at night, right? So this whole concept of like, hey, I can take the whole day to do these things that I want to do has been very freeing for me. And there are some days where it just doesn't get done, and I regret it. It's like, oh, I missed that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm finding ways to make it happen, even if it's like, okay, I only have 2 minutes. I'm going to read this passage. I'm going to do my journaling quickly, and then I'm going to move on. But I did it, and I feel a little bit better because I have done that. So, just looking for where the water wants to naturally go. That's the way that I'm going to go, because everything has been so last minute, right? Like I picked my mother up at the border. That was not planned, right? My parents' trip that got completely blown up. That was not planned. My neighbor here is on hospice. That was clearly not planned, right? All of these things, just like what you said, Nat, everything is popping up, and there are things that I actually have to go do and deal with. I can't avoid them. I've had to say no. All of these plans that I made with all of our friends, bariatric friends, I've had to say no to. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I can't go. I thought I was going to go. I can't, because these other things have to take precedent. And it's been frustrating, and it's been annoying. I mean, even Grady's like, I feel like you're canceling on a lot of people this summer. And I'm like, I absolutely am saying no to all of these things that I said yes to. But if I wasn't doing these things, right, it's just like, it's just.
Well, you have to, when these, right, like we're talking about things that you can control, right? Those were things that you said yes to. But all of this stuff happened that you can't control.
Mm-hmm.
What can you control in the situation? It's all that stuff that you said yes to.
Yeah, it's your time.
Yeah, you have to say, hey, and you have to protect yourself in that little bubble and say, hey, all of this stuff just came up. All of this hit the fan. I don't have capacity for this anymore.
Yeah.
And like, I think you and I are both kind of realizing like it's okay to say no to those things after after you said yes, and after you agreed to it. Like, it's okay, because you have to protect yourself because of what happened, because of what you can't control.
Yeah.
Well, and those people that you said yes to know your intent. They know, and the people in your lives are going to know. That you had the best intentions, that you really wanted to. And at the time you had no commitments, so you could do that, and that was fine. But now that you've had to make the shift, those things come from, wish you could be there, whatever, to, are you okay? Is there anything we can do for you? Mm-hmm. Because the circumstances have changed. Mm-hmm. You have changed. Your ability to deal with what's going on has changed. So now you switch from a, friend, buddy to a support role. You need support, and those people need to shift and adjust with you. And what you were saying about, thinking the quickest way is to just kind of pile it on. We talk about it all the time. Like, you've got to set yourself up for easy wins, and those are not easy wins. When you try to, nobody wins the championship on a tip off of the first game of the season. So you can't expect to do that in your bariatric journey either. You have to learn to, like you said, set yourself up for what you can do with the capacity that you have at the time. Now, that is going to shift. Are there going to be days where you wake up and tackle the day and you're like, fuck yeah, I knocked off all my stuff, my tracker looks dope? Yes, 100%. Are there going to be days where you don't get a damn thing on the tracker? Absolutely. But you cannot let that affect the next day, because there's going to be a next day coming around. So maybe you only get half your tracker done. Like we said, it's not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about getting better than you were the day before. If yesterday you didn't get a damn thing done in your tracker, but the next day you only get 2 things done, guess what? That's 2 more than you had yesterday. Keep it moving. Maybe tomorrow you'll get 3. And if you don't get 3, guess what? get two again. But at
Yes.
least you're holding steady with what you had and not backslide.
Yes. I mean, literally, this morning, I'm looking on our Instagram, because there was a quote by Anne Lamott that like stopped me in my tracks either last night or yesterday or something. And I was like, oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Anne. Her quote says, "We do not have to get it together before we show up."
No.
And that goes back to my, like, 2 years ago when I was doing my pre-op, right? It's like, you just show up. You just
Yeah.
put on the hat that you need to wear that day, and
Mhm.
it will follow.
Yeah. And I'm so thankful for all of our friends, for my friends who have understood and allowed me to gracefully bow out of these things that I committed to. No one has been anything but understanding and empathetic. And they've made it very easy for me when they knew that it was a really difficult decision to do. So that has definitely made it easy. It's helped me lower the temperature, and it's helped me, just say, I can only do so much. And what has to take precedence right now? And it's like, well, I have to do this for my family. I have to be here for this person. And like you said, like things come in, things change constantly. And I have to just learn to let it move past and kind of keep, not keep my emotions in check, but keep how I respond to those things in check, because I could very much just be like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. And just absolutely expend all of my energy worrying about these things that, I can't.
But you don't get anything done that way. It's not productive to
No.
think of it that way. Like you may have a minute where you get to yourself and you have a small little mini breakdown.
Yeah.
But you gotta gather it back up and keep it moving if you're gonna make any progress.
Yeah. I mean, I have not, you guys know I am not a crier. I don't have tear ducts, but this summer I have just been so emotional, and I have just been allowing myself to cry and to feel those
Good.
emotions and move on from them. Right. It's like, okay, no, it's not that I'm not allowed to feel. I am going to feel all of this, but I need to move through that emotion. And then I need to gather my senses in a clear and cohesive way. I need to look at this situation, not from in the moment. I need to step back and see, okay, what is going on here? What is the best course of action here? What is going to give me the biggest bang for the buck? And then I need to move forward and do that.
Yeah, it's like pulling over into the loading zone. You got to process what it is. You got to get the order out, and then you got to keep it moving. You can't hold on to it.
No.
Well, that reminded me of, I love like Mayan culture. Like I read about it a lot. It's really interesting to me, but the way that you just described that, I mean, their pyramids were built in the way to where you can't see the steps underneath you. They're built in a way that when you are standing on that pyramid, all you see is the land below you. You don't see the way that last couple steps is built. You don't see the hundreds of steps below you. So that's where they went to plan, to see the big pictures. Where are, the enemies coming? Where do they need to protect, X, Y, Z? That they specifically built the pyramids that way. And sometimes we have to learn to say, okay, I'm seeing everything at a ground level, but I can't see what's coming. I can't, all this stuff. Okay, I'm going to go up this pyramid and I'm going to sit and I'm going to plan. And that's what you're doing right now. You're planning it out. You're figuring out where all of your people are, where you need to protect, where you need to maybe like add or subtract. That's what you're doing right now. And it's okay to do. People have been doing this for thousands of years.
Yes.
We don't do that in our life because we are protected. Like that part of our brain is kind of like, well, I don't have to go up and plan all this stuff, but humans have been doing that.
Yes. And I tend to keep my life so busy so that I don't have a time to stop and reflect, but it's screwed me in the past. And this summer, I guess what's been really interesting is I have taken more time than I have in a very long time to just be still and to ask myself these questions and then take the time to flip and answer them for myself. And it was missing. It really was missing. And I keep telling Grady, I'm like, God, I so miss hot yoga. And I've been trying to figure out like, what was it about hot yoga that I missed? And when I was doing hot yoga, that was 2 hours that I zoned everything else out. And I had a moment to be still, even though there were other people in the class, right? And it's being taught and, and you're doing all of the asanas. It was truly a moment for me to be still. And I figured out I was answering a lot of my own questions when I was taking that dedicated time. And I was doing it almost every day, at least 5 days a week when we were living in Federal Way. And then it just poof went away. Well, so did my these moments of stillness. And
it's your download time. It's your time to process things and have your own internal conversations. And that's legitimately one of the ways that you process things. Like you're not a big sit down and talk it out. You can talk it out with yourself because you feel like you can get through it yourself better because you know yourself the best.
Yeah.
And that's fine, but that's the same data as tracking. It's the same data. It's the same concept. You just have to take that time to evaluate yourself if you're not going to let anybody else do it. And you've got to answer yourself. You've got to get back to that conversation you have with yourself, because that's the only way you're going to get out of the mindset that you're currently in.
Yep. Well, I mean, like I told you guys before, right? There's been so many obstacles. I feel like I got a lot of freaking roadblocks. Like we've been trying to solve some big things, on the Berry Nation side. I'm trying to solve some big things on my personal side. And it's just like, oh my God, that the book that I'm reading right now, the obstacle is the way. It's like, yeah, no, this is what I have to solve for. And the only way that I'm going to solve for it is I need to understand what it is. I need to act deliberately, and I need to be able to process it. And I'm very much I'm going to do this on my own. I know that I can't do it on my own, but what I need for myself is I need to think about it on my own first, come up with some ideas like, hey, maybe this is it. And then go to you guys, go to the community and go, hey, I think this is it. And then we work together to figure it out. And that has been missing, I think.
Well, because not everything that you're going to think about and that you're going to come up with is going to be a solvable problem or something that even really needs to be addressed by like in a bigger setting. So it feels like a lot of stuff right now, but as you start to sift through it, you're going to find little shit and go, no, we're not talking about that. Like, I know what that is. I can just go over that. Yep. So, I mean, it's basically you've got the rough draft right now, and you're trying to finalize that into something a little more polished that you can present to people. That's going to make more sense. So you're not out there like you got your tinfoil hat on going, all these things are making me crazy. And then you actually sound crazy. And then people are looking at you like, you good? Like, maybe you need to talk to somebody better than me. But, but that's legit. Like we all have those things, and you just have to you need the quiet time to calm everything down so that you can actually listen to what's calling to you the most, that you really know you need to make an impact.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the answers. I'm just not taking the time to listen to them. Right. Or to to really hone in on them. But I am this summer. So in a lot of ways, I mean, that's great. That is exactly what needed to happen.
The fact that you have kind of gone a little bit recluse and things, like at first I was like, oh, like April's not responding. She's not, like, I was worried, right? Because we talk all the time, all this stuff. And it's like, the more that I personally thought about it, the more I was kind of like, we record the podcast and we kind of like hear what you're dealing with and what you're processing. I'm like, oh no, this is actually stuff that you've never done. Really. I mean, you've never really processed in the 2 years that I've known you. You just don't do this. And so I think even though maybe like your summer study goals may not be panning out, like you're still learning and growing, even though it's not the direction that you thought it was going in.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, and one of my goals this summer was to journal consistently.
True. Yes. No, I mean,
and to read. It's interesting though, that right where I thought the goal would take me,
yes,
is not the actual destination, right? But it's actually a much better, right? Like, oh, I thought I was going to this town, but actually I'm going here. And this is actually what I needed.
And that's okay. Like if you can start out with a summer study goal of one thing, and it may look something completely different by the time you're done. There's nothing wrong with that. You may decide that what you started out with doesn't serve you the right way. So you made adjustments along the way, because guess what? That's what this whole thing is about anyway. Yeah. It's about course correction, figuring out what does not work for you, and being able to make the adjustment as you go along. Yep. Because that's what's ultimately going to serve you in your journey.
Yes. Dude, I literally, I want to so badly go right behind me and grab the book. Because the passage today was basically like, the people who we consider geniuses have tried it 8,000 different ways. And then, right, the reason that they became successful was not from an epiphany. It was not the one thing that they tried. It's because they did it 10,000 different ways and figured out all of the ways that it did not work until they got to the way that did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. One of my favorite illustrations is the success that the success poster that has the iceberg. It's like what people see, and it's like the tip, and the bottom, like underneath the sea, is like this giant like mountain. That's legitimately how it is. Like people just think somebody just has weight loss surgery, just nails everything and never has the problem. Yeah. Never experiences regain, never experiences slipping off the diet, never experiences, any like. It's just not the way. Like people fail often. Yeah. And it's not about the fail. It's about how you bounce back from that fail that matters. And like Nat was saying, like sometimes it feels like it's hard as hell to get back up. Like sometimes you're like, dude, I'm exhausted. Like I'm gonna let the 10 count go and I'm not getting back up. Like that's okay to feel like that. But the community is here to help pick you back up. So you don't have to do it by yourself. Like it does feel like that. It feels monumental sometimes when you get knocked down and you don't want to get back up on your own. But sometimes you need to, stick your hand out and let somebody help you up, because at the end of the day, not everybody can get up on their own, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's what the community is here for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes that I was reminded when you said that, Jason, right? It's like sometimes like, we say like, oh, I've just hit a wall. And it's like, well, sometimes the wall was there so you can lean on it and rest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I've been taking some personality tests for work and things, for career development and things. And one of the questions really got me thinking, because it was like, how do you recharge? And I know everyone is different, but that question was so hard for me. I think a lot of times people think that it's one or the other. Like it's either staying home and being alone, or it's going out and being with people. And I think for me, it's always difficult because I'm both. I need both of those things. And that means that I need balance, but I've never been balanced before. And this week, I realized, I thought I was recharging all week, but I really wasn't, because that's not what I needed this week. And I think what you're saying, April, is the same thing. It's like, I committed to all of these things that I thought would recharge me, 2 months ago. Mm-hmm. But now, because of what's happening in my life, that actually is going to drain my batteries. And what I really need to do is this. And I think we're so in the black and white, but really the gray is where we want to be.
Oh my God, you weren't at the VBM, but that is, dude, Jeannie did a whole talk on the gray.
Oh, I love Jeannie. Jeannie's my girl. But yeah, I mean, that's like, you don't want to be in the black or the white. You want to be in that middle gray area, because that's where the balance is.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's 100% true. because as people pleasers or previous people pleasers, as we're trying to get out of it, break that mold, it's very hard to choose yourself or your needs or whatever, even if you're exhausted and about to fall down, you know, instead of laying down. It's very hard to know you committed to something and take it back, because you need to serve yourself more than you need to, you know, serve other people. That's very, very hard to do, but it's absolutely needed, because at the end of the day, you don't, you know, it's one of those, if you don't lay down, you're going to fall down.
Mhm.
Like, your body will stop you. Your body will make you rest if it has to. And nobody wants that, because then you're laid up in the hospital or worse, or whatever that may be. You don't want to have to deal with that. So you're going to have, like, it is harmful to you to keep going in such a manner that you don't allow yourself the time to recoup and recharge.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was just go, 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 go. And I definitely hit a wall here, I think a couple of weeks back. And I was just like, this is not good. This is not good. This is right. This is, yeah. And, you know, again, to have the ability to just step back and go, I need something else. I need something different. This is not working. Was beneficial. And I have definitely, I mean, you know, I think all three of us have just been like, okay, we are all just kind of like, there's a lot going on, right? But, you know, at least we all trust each other enough to know that everybody's doing what they need to do, or they're taking the time to figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is trust, right? That is trust in your friends. That is trust in the process. That's trust in the community. That is, you know, that is all of that. I've been talking to multiple people this week, and the comment that I keep hearing is like, I wish that this was talked about more in the community. And the question I had to ask myself is, well, I have to be the one to talk about it. Like, it's like, well, if we want to see more of this in the community, then we all need to share it more.
Yep.
We all can't be afraid to say, oh my God, I am hitting a wall. This is awful. Here's what I'm doing about it. Here's what I'm going to try. And just keep talking about it, because that's how it is seen more as normal in the community. It takes all of us having these conversations openly and publicly, or having them with our friends, so that these things are normalized, right? Because the highlight reel is real life, right? Like I'm not going to be upset, or I'm not going to feel ashamed about the awesome things that happen in my life, but I'm also going to try to do a better job of saying, nope, there's the highlight and there's the be real. And these both exist.
Yeah.
And right. And they deserve equal footing.
Yeah, absolutely.
If that makes sense. All right. So I wrote down my thing too. So I cannot say that I did not do that. Right. So what are the things that we are going to be focusing on or working towards in August? Right? Is it a continuation of what's been going well? Is it stepping back? Is it dialing up? What is it?
I know for myself, it is a continuation. I think I want to continue with the meal prepping and tracking. I think it's helping me overall. But I also have been going to Profi in Progress with Danielle on Mondays. Which, if you are not a part of the membership of Berry Nation, that is something that you would be able to do. And she asked us to start thinking about our goals for August. And something that I'm realizing has been a hindrance in my life lately is I know that I have ADHD. I was on a previous medication that did not make me feel good, called Adderall. It's very famous for like being very turbulent. I was on it when I was in college, and then I just thought, I can manage this. I don't have to be on it anymore. And I survived for a little bit, right? Like, but it's starting to affect my life now again, like to the point where I can't manage it. I
Oh,
think what I was doing was I was managing it with food. There's
ah,
an article that has a strong correlation between obesity and ADHD, because eating is a form of stimulation that a lot of people with ADHD need. So I was managing it, but I was managing it because I was eating. And so I have set the goal for myself to start medication in August. So that is
wow.
my goal.
Okay.
Nice.
That was very long-winded, but yes.
Nope. I mean, awesome.
Yeah.
I'm writing this down so we can revisit this in September.
Okay.
Boom. All right. I love it, friends. So you're going to continue meal planning and prepping, doing what you have been doing, because that's going very well. And you're going to look into starting medication for ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Jason, my friend.
I'm sticking with the meal prepping and the, kind of more intuitive eating with the vegetables and things like that, add more to the plate, less protein, not less protein, but, dialing back a little bit of the protein at each meal so that I have more room for the vegetables and things. Keeping with the movement, because we've been doing the step bet
Yes.
stuff. So I've been getting all the steps in with Sarah. And then plus I got to add going to the gym back. So I'm doing gym workouts a few times a week. I'm trying to not go crazy with it like I did last time. Because when I was able to go back, I was going 5 days a week and I was really just trying to blow it out of the water. And I don't want, I've kind of been reading up on some things and watching some videos talking about how, from personal trainers, talking about how you actually get more benefit out of only going about 3 times a week, because you can train, and just moving the other days, just regular movements and things. So I'm going to try to dial back the gym to at least 2 to 3 times per week and then just move the rest of the other days. So I can kind of get the max time, but I can also get the max repair to my body that it needs on the off days. So
I'm excited. I was going to say, I'm super excited about the movement because you really do enjoy the gym now. That's,
yeah,
you like
no,
going.
I love it.
Yeah.
Because the time that, it was really, that's probably part of what made it so hard for me when my doctor, put me on my little break, was that I had just started reaching personal best goals on like everything I was doing at the gym. And then she's like, yeah, but don't go anymore. And I'm like, and then, I go back now and I'm like, I'm starting over from scratch, basically. I might as well not even have gone all that time. And it's hard. Like the first couple of days was very hard for me because I'm like, I'm putting the pins on the weights where they're supposed to be. And I'm like, whoa, what the hell? And then I have to think about it and talk with myself, because then I started to get down and frustrated and be like, what the hell? And I'm like, well, think about, like, you built up before you got to where you were. It did not take forever, because I was hitting, to be honest, I was hitting personal bests within like 3 or 4 months of being at the gym, period. And so I was seeing the gains and making the changes in my body that I wanted to see. So to think that I can't do that again in the same amount of time, like, is just silly for me to get down on myself, when it's just like, yeah, you did it once, now we get to do it again. So don't act like it's impossible to get to, just do the work. So, it just took a little bit of a shift in mindset to get back right with that again. But I'm excited to see, because now I'm taking pictures of myself before. So I'll get to actually see the progress. Because I said a lot of times beforehand that I wish I would have taken the pictures so that I could see the changes, in my body. So I'm excited to see kind of what happens with that now that I'm back at it. So
I love it.
I was going to say, it really is a perfect opportunity for you to, yes, you're doing the work again, but you're going to do it differently in a way that is better. You're going to tweak it. You're going to, right? Like now you have the opportunity to do before and after pictures. You didn't have that opportunity before. So, I mean, it's kind of a good thing that you're doing it again.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, mine is, I'm going to continue to journal and read. That is going really well. I am on that. I got kicked out of the step bet for a stupid tech reason, and I am over it. I have not worn my watch since I got kicked out a couple days ago. It's fine. It is what it is. I'm moving on from that. But I'm gonna keep journaling. I'm gonna keep doing all of that. I'm gonna do my Peloton, you know, I gotta continue to move because I've been doing that a lot this summer. But really my biggest thing is I want to incorporate more whole foods into my diet. That seems like an easy thing to do. Again, I'm gonna be like water and flow where it's easiest.
Yes.
And I am just not going to eat after dinner. That's it. The kitchen is closed. I am done.
Nice.
On days that we're entertaining or whatever happens, if life happens, if the s'mores come out, if late night snacks happen because we're being social, so be it. But on a regular old evening, I am done eating when I am done with dinner.
I think that is a really great way to keep yourself accountable. That's something that like is very similar. Like I don't keep snacks in my house that are not a lot, like even, I mean, I have Built Bar, Dive Bar, but like even the protein chips, all of that, like I don't keep that in my house. That is how I stay accountable. If I'm out at someone else's house or whatever, and there's snacks and chips, it's like, okay, yeah, like I will enjoy my time and not stress out. But I think your like kitchen is closed after dinner. Like, I think that's a great way for you to stay accountable.
Yep. I think so too. And I really want to make because I know, right, that there is going to be lots of times where I'm going to want to eat after dinner. I'm stressed, whatever happened, right? Like, oh my gosh, I'm hungry. I'm going to fill up my water, right? Drink that. And then I'm going to go on my stories and I'm just going to say, I freaking want to eat right now. Why do I want to eat? Here's what I'm feeling. Here's what I'm experiencing. I'm just so flipping whatever. It'll be a way for me to just be accountable. So at least I can get those feelings and emotions out and see what that does, see if that helps, right? And then maybe it will help other people too, because I'm sure I'm not the only one that wants to late night eat.
No, you're definitely.
No. All right, my friends. Well, as always, this conversation has been inspiring and uplifting. And I'm thankful to like reconnect with you guys. We legit have not done this. Like we normally have production meetings. We haven't had any of that stuff because all of our lives have just been so crazy. So it's been good to catch up, friends.
Yeah.
It has indeed.
Jason, my friend, you want to take us out?
Yes, ma'am. Just, thank you both for joining us today because, as always, like we thank everybody else, your knowledge and your time is valuable as well. So thank you. And thank you to the community for just supporting us and continuing to do all the things you do because we wouldn't be able to do what we do without you guys. And just remember at the end of the day, you've got this, we've got you, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye, friends.
Bye-bye.